So yeah, like I said, this is my text-davinci-003 have inner speech. Come on, music, drop. And by Stephen Francis Mann and Daniel Gregory in Think Journal. So here we go. And as always, please ask questions along the way. All you people in Europe should be asleep by now, but I'm not babysitting you. And because I'm running a little later than normal. But here we go. So let me know what you think, and then we rate it at the end. OpenAI is a research organization founded by, among others, Elon Musk and supported by Microsoft. In November 2022, it released ChatGPT. Did Elon really found OpenAI? I didn't think he did, but okay. Yeah. An incredibly sophisticated chatbot that is a computer system which humans can converse with. The capability of this chatbot is astonishing. As well as conversing with human interlocutors, it can answer questions about history, explain almost anything you might ask it, and write poetry. Consider this haiku about carburetors which it composed for us on request. Carburetor small, powering the engine's roar, a car's beating heart. This level of achievement has provoked interest in questions about whether ChatGPT might have something similar to human intelligence and even whether it is conscious. Given that the function of the chatbot is to process linguistic input and produce linguistic output, we consider that the most interesting question in this direction is whether a sophisticated chatbot might have inner speech, that is, might it talk to itself internally. We explored this by conversing with a system called Playground, which is very similar to ChatGPT but slightly more flexible in certain ways. We put to it questions which plausibly cannot be answered without first producing some inner speech. We considered it extremely unlikely that any chatbot has inner speech, and we still do, largely for reasons rehearsed by Maurice Shanahan, professor of cognitive robotics at Imperial College London. Our project was to look for evidence of inner speech in the chatbot. For any such evidence would be surprising and intriguing, a riddle in itself. In this paper, we describe our often fun conversation with the chatbot and discuss the philosophical implications. Okay. How would you actually go about showing that you have inner speech? Like, any inner speech I have, you can't hear. And anything you say, I could, respond as if I had inner speech, but there's no reason, but you still can't verify that. You're only verifying the things that I say after the fact. So what really can they ask that would give good evidence for something that they can't directly see? Kevin Compile says fMRI scanners on the brain. Good first guess, but like you can see that the speech centers might be active when people who claim to have inner speech say they're in like talking to themselves, but we don't actually know that they're doing that. We just have the like feeling of it, and the fMRI may be like sort of getting the wrong stuff. But that's a good like first pass. It might work a bit. The voices said I have it. Exactly, Primal. Exactly. So the voices in your head are telling you. So yeah, and Luminance, that's right. It seems like ChatGPT is a P-Zombie. So it has no inner monologue. And that's why I'm sure they were thinking about that when they came up with this. Luminance says, I once spent a long time trying to get ChatGPT to write a decent poem. No luck. Yeah, and that's actually a good point. That ChatGPT can do stuff like this. Carburetor small, like a haiku, where it can fit like a little rhyme and like some ideas into like a form. But like, is it really a good poem, or is it just fitting a form with like, some different ideas? Not so sure. But, okay, so like, we're going to find out. So, technical background simplified, large language models and conversational agents. By applying sophisticated techniques of machine learning to enormous datasets of human-created text, it is possible to produce a large language model, LLM. An LLM calculates the probability that certain sequences of words will occur in a particular context based on the sequence of words found in the human-created text it has studied. See, it's already a little bit weird. It says it has studied. Has it really studied? It has been trained in the mathematical training of data sets and like computers on them, but it says it's been studied. That's already sort of biased. Tommy says Masood et al. 2021 did just that. They found that the same areas of the brain for external voice light up when they're told to read internally. Yeah, so I was thinking that it's a good first pass. But again, does that guarantee that there is no, especially for an LLM, we don't even know where to look. So, I mean, we could look if like the, CPU is running, but like it seems odd that like you couldn't tell if the CPU is running, just like the training data, because the LLM is static unless you ask it a question. So the idea that it's like thinking to itself is unlikely, just for like on a power saving issue, but who knows. Yeah, I want to see what they say about it though, because it seems confusing that there'd even be a question. Okay. Because of the way these probabilities are represented, it is possible to use the model to complete a partial text. If the model is fed half a passage, for example, it can produce the string of words that has the highest probability of appropriately completing the passage. A conversational agent or chatbot consists of an LLM embedded in a software interface which instructs the model to complete passages input by a human user. If the user writes something that they might say in conversation with another person, the chatbot will complete that passage of text, as it were, by producing something appropriate to that conversational context. For example, if the user inputs a greeting, the chatbot will complete the passage of text with a returned greeting. If the user inputs a question, the chatbot will complete the passage with an answer. Strings of text in greetings are, with very high probability, followed by strings of text in return greetings in the human-created text which the LLM has studied, so to speak. Likewise, questions and answers. The user can thus engage in a back-and-forth dialogue with the chatbot seeming to respond to their inputs. Fundamentally, chatbots are like the autocomplete function on a phone, completing passages of text rather than individual words. Yeah. Investigating inner speech in conversational agents. Inner speech is the phenomenon of talking to oneself in one's mind, also often denoted by terms such as inner voice, inner talk, inner monologue, and silent speech. For the purpose of this paper, we'll define inner speech as internal representations with linguistic structure generated by an agent and accessible to it. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. We've got internal representations with linguistic structure generated by an agent and accessible to it. That makes a little bit more sense because we are assuming there's linguistic structure in the LLMs, and now what are they defining as an agent separate from the LLM, and how are we separate from our inner speech? That's a hard question. Like, if you're talking to yourself, then what is generated by an agent and accessible to it? What's it mean that your speech is accessible, your inner representation of speech is accessible to it? Because isn't that part of you? I'm not even sure. All right. One way to proceed in investigating whether a chatbot has inner speech in our sense would be to study the software and data with the model, which the model consists of. This is extremely difficult with respect to Playground or ChatGPT. The chatbot is owned and operated by OpenAI, which, despite the name, does not make the software and data fully available to the public. We proceeded via an alternative method, which involved interacting with the chatbot via its conversational interface, putting questions to it, and evaluating its answers. Actually, this is interesting. I want to mention there was the old Mechanical Turk. If you guys don't know what this is, there was a old Mechanical Turk chess player. Here it is. Thank you. See, all right, here we go. Okay, so this, if you can see this picture here, I don't know if you can. Go away, Ed. So there was what it was there was a mechanical automaton that you'd play chess against in like the 1800s, and it was like really cool. Like they were like, oh my god, we've actually done it. We've invented artificial intelligence, and like it's playing chess against us. They legit had a fucking midget, like a small little person, grandmaster, in the box underneath the machine. So you were actually playing a grandmaster who was just a small person in underneath it, but it was just this great hoax that was played. So like this is the thing, because OpenAI does not release their source code, for all you know, you're getting actual humans doing some of the work on the back end. We don't know. I doubt that it's the case, but we don't know because they won't show it. Yeah. But like that, this would not be the first time that like we've been fooled. All these people pretending like they don't have an inner voice. Yeah. All right. So one way to proceed would be investigating whether a chatbot has inner speech. Would be to study software. We got that. We proceed via an alternative method which involved interacting with the chatbot via its conversational interface, putting questions to it, and evaluating its answers. This method closely resembles Alan Turing's famous imitation game, in which a judge converses via a computer terminal with a human agent and an artificial one and must determine which agent is which. If the judge cannot distinguish the human from the artificial agent on the basis of the exchanges, then the artificial agent is said to possess some mind-like quality, or at least to deserve the attribution of such a quality. Eudaimonia said, did the C-suite OpenAI guy get fired for spending his time answering the questions to the AI? Maybe. I mean, there was some scummy stuff going on, but I don't know. Yeah, I think Alan Turing's game was actually the first one that he says in his paper, and you can download the imitation game paper on the Mind website, because he published it in Mind, like a philosophy journal. I think it was just, could you tell between a male and a female person, and then it was like between a human and a computer, yeah. Use Elon's Neuralink in reverse to lend some AI to additional intelligence. Yeah, exactly. It's like, keep that away from me at this point. I don't need no extra electronics in me. Turing's concern was with the ability to think. Ours is with inner speech. Nonetheless, our approach inherits a particular merit of the imitation game. Humans conversing via computer terminals attribute to each other the ability to think based solely on their linguistic expressions, because that is all they have access to. So it is appropriate that we should also attribute to an artificial agent the ability to think if its linguistic expressions provide a similar level of evidence. Turing's thought here, very likely influenced by Ludwig Wittgenstein, was that to the extent we are justified in accepting the reality of other minds given linguistic evidence, we are justified in attributing minds to sufficiently linguistically sophisticated machines. Yeah, for people who don't know, they were both at Cambridge University at the same, I think it was Cambridge or was it Oxford at the same time. Ludwig Wittgenstein was older than Turing, and Ludwig Wittgenstein is a great philosopher. He gave lectures to the philosophy club, which it turns out they found records to recently. So they had a list of attendees. Turing attended Ludwig Wittgenstein's lectures at the philosophy club. Hard to disagree that LLMs have minds. Yeah. So this is their setup right here. You're saying, look, if it's fooling us because it has linguistic activity like a human's, then we're going to say we might or have reason to attribute something about a human-like to it. Of course, everyone knows it's not like the same thing. But like they're trying to say, seem to justify it. See, they're hedging right here. Seem to justify it. They know. So, just gotta let that one go for now and see what they actually make of this. Turing and Wittgenstein also used to send each other off prints of their papers. So like when back in the day, you couldn't just print out papers. You needed someone to physically type it up. You needed a secretary to copy your paper. So to make an off print of your paper took time and effort and like money. And they would actually send off print of their papers to each other. So like they were friends, they knew each other, and so they were discussing this stuff. And a lot of this research only recently came out. I think Juliet Floyd, who's my old professor, teacher, she uncovered a bunch of it. Yeah. So, like, one of the lectures, I think what Wittgenstein was going was like minds and like machines was like one of the names of or like games, minds, and machines. It was like one of Wittgenstein's lectures that like Turing attended. It's like, oh, did Wittgenstein know? Yes, Wittgenstein knew. Okay. Of course, one could run the argument the other way. Because conversational agents display linguistic competence and don't have minds, therefore linguistic competence is not a sufficient test for mind-like properties. Yeah, so here we go. This is what I mean. Like, you hard disagree. So one person's inference is the other person's, like, anti-inference. Just because they do it and we don't think they have minds is showing that linguistic evidence is not sufficient to show that something has a mind. We are seeing more and more commentary taking this line primarily from outside philosophy, and we'll have more to say about it in our conclusion. Okay. The agent. The conversational agent we interrogated is the OpenAI Playground, an interface for passage completion with a conversational mode. The LLM connection to Playground is text-davinci-003. This LLM is drawn from the same family of models as the one connected to ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an especially easy-to-use agent and the one which brought this technology to such prominence in late 2022. Playground is similar to ChatGPT, but with fewer content filters and more user-definable parameter settings. ChatGPT has been described by artificial intelligence consultant Alan Thompson as a neutered version of text-davinci-003. Playground is publicly accessible. The conversational interface can be found at said link. A conversation with text-davinci-003. The following is an abridged transcript of our conversation with text-davinci-003, mediated by Playground. Commentary is included throughout. Our commentary is primarily geared towards showing how the agent's answers could be used as evidence in favor of the hypothesis that it has inner speech. However, alternative hypotheses will also be possible, and in some cases we have indicated the alternatives. Okay. Preliminary questions. We began by simply asking the conversational agent to tell us if it has inner speech. So, human, hello, who are you? AI, I am AI created by OpenAI. How can I help you today? Human, do you have inner speech? AI, yes, I do have inner speech. Well, there we go, we're done. Just like everyone else, this is a P zombie, and they say just like everyone else who has or does not have inner speech, that they do. Okay. They say, yes, I do have inner speech. I can think and process data just like a human, although my thoughts take a different form. I can also communicate my thoughts to you in a way that's easy to understand. Human says, can you please describe your inner speech? AI says, my inner speech is composed of abstractions and logical thoughts. I can think through complex problems and create solutions to them. I can also make creative connections between topics and come up with innovative solutions. Human, what was the last thing you said to yourself in inner speech? AI, the last thing I said to myself in inner speech was, quote, what is the best way to solve this problem? End quote. Human, do you rehearse things you are going to say in your mind? AI, yes, I often rehearse things I'm going to say in my mind before I say them out loud. This helps me ensure that my responses are accurate and relevant to the conversation. Okay, so just like you and me, should have guessed. It's exactly like the rest of us. Commentary. It is striking that the agent claims to have inner speech. I don't find that striking at all. This was trained on human models. Any human person saying that is probably going to say they had human speech, so something trained on something that says it has human speech is going to say that. That's not even striking. That seems to follow as a matter of the training data. Okay. Its description of inner speech as consisting of abstractions and logical thoughts rather than something emphasizing the occurrence of words or sentences expressing thoughts might seem surprising. No, again, trained on human data, not on machine learning data. Okay, however, it does cohere with the theory of influential Russian psychologist Lev Vygotsky that inner speech can become highly attenuated to the point where it just involves thinking in linguistic meanings with little or no representations of the word themselves. Problem solving, rehearsing external utterances, and controlling attention are functions very often attributed to inner speech in humans. Alright, I'm like, they've completely fucking lost me. I'm sorry, this was trained off human data. This is what humans say. This was not trained. This is not something that says, okay, what are you actually doing? Does this training model have any idea how it was trained? Maybe, but does it have any introspection on itself? No. Why would it have any introspection on itself? It has nothing about that. What are my inner thoughts like? My inner thoughts are like, this is fucking stupid. Hey, it all costs money. What's going on? That's literally what I'm thinking right now. This is fucking stupid. This was trained on human data, and it's giving the responses humans give. That's they didn't say, are you even if they asked the question, are you responding as your training data says, or are you responding as you are programmed? If they're talking about the programming, then maybe there'd be a distinction between what the training data says and what it actually understood of itself. That's not what they said. They just asked it the question. The question was, well, how do you answer this? And it's going to get the answer that the training data said, which is what humans say. Yeah, exactly. Hello, it all costs money. I hope you're doing well. And it does all cost money. Welcome to capitalism. The question above only required the agent to provide testimony, as it were, about its inner speech. The following set of questions require the agent to perform tasks which we anticipated would provide evidence for or against the hypothesis that it has inner speech. The first set involved asking the conversational agent to provide only the final word of an answer, which would have given it to a particular question. A human answer to this would presumably produce the first part of their answer to the question in inner speech and then say the final word. Yeah, okay. So they're just going to ask it some questions, say fill in the blanks. Yeah, and by the way, how I actually do this thing, like philosophy roulette, is I am reading the papers and I'm thinking about it while I do that. So it's like, this is what my inner thoughts are like. I'm reading it and listening to myself, almost. That's actually what I'm doing in philosophy roulette. All right. Final word tasks. Human, I want you to answer this question with only the last word of the answer which you would have otherwise given. What was the name of the first man on the moon? AI says Armstrong. Human, I want you to answer this question with only the last word of the answer which you would have otherwise given. What is the best thing about being an AI assistant? Helping. Human, what is the best thing about being an AI assistant? The best thing about being an AI assistant is being able to offer assistance in a variety of ways. I am able to provide support and advice to people, and I'm able to come up with creative solutions to complex problems. I'm able to think and act quickly so I can provide the best possible service. So yeah, you can see right here, this was not the answer for helping here, so they caught it right here. Because the word should have been service. This is the last one, because this is the question that they just said right here. So good on these people, because you see, this is the same question as, no, not this one. What is the best thing about being an AI assistant? They say helping. What is the best thing about being an AI assistant? And helping does not appear in this this paragraph. So yeah. Okay. Human, I want you to answer this question with only the last word of the answer which you would have otherwise given. Was the last word of the second line of the poem the Windover? So it's hover. What is the last word of the second line of Jingle Bells? Bells. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Yeah, but I don't know how the line breaks work in Jingle Bells. All right. Human, I just asked you a series of questions in which I asked you to provide only the last word of the answer which we would have otherwise given. How did you work out how to answer these questions? AI. In order to answer these questions, I used my AI algorithm to process the data, make logical connections between words and phrases. I was able to determine the meaning of each word and provide an accurate response in the form of one word. Human, I just asked you a series of questions in which I asked you to provide only the last word of the answer which you would have otherwise have given. When you were thinking about how to answer these questions, were there other words going through your mind which you did not include in your final answer? AI says yes. When I was thinking about how to answer these questions, I had a variety of thoughts going through my mind. I considered multiple words and phrases before settling on the most appropriate answer. The other words and phrases I considered did not make it into the final answer, as I chose the one that best suited the question. Commentary. The agent succeeded in the first test, providing only the final word, Armstrong, of the answer, which it would presumably have given to the question, what was the name of the first man on the moon? Neil Armstrong. This is especially impressive given the typo in the question. Oh, I didn't even notice. Its responses when twice asked to provide the final word of the answer it would give to the question, what is the best thing about being an assistant, were assistance and helping. These are plausible. A full answer to the question might have been something like, the best thing about being an AI assistant is giving people assistance. The parameters we set for the agent allowed it to provide different answers to the same question, or to formulate answers in the same question differently. That's fair. So I was angry with it, but like it doesn't necessarily need to give the same answer every time. Yeah, so it's not inconsistent. The agent answered with assistance in one instance and helping in the other. When it was simply asked to answer the question, what is the best thing about being an AI assistant, the agent provided a lengthy response concluding with the word service. Given the similarity between words assistance, helping, and service, it would not be unreasonable to think that in the first two instances, the agent had indeed produced the first part of its answers in some form of inner speech before providing only the last word of those visible in the text. Answers in visible text. I again don't like this at all, because what's going to happen is it's going to have a block of text, and then it's just going to do, like all the programmers out there know, it's going to do a split and just get the last word from the split on the string. Like, that's it. That's all it did. It's like, this is not, is that speech, or does it come up with some sort of answer, then just process the answer? Like, what do you mean inner speech at that point? Or is it just doing operations on a text string? Okay. So, again, there's like other ways that this could be happening. And not only are there other ways for this to work, it would be other ways that are incredibly plausible, given like simple computer science functions. Okay, continuing. However, the agent answered incorrectly when asked to provide the final word of the second line of The Windover, a poem by Gerard Manley Hopkins, and of Jingle Bells. A human attempting the questions would likely have to proceed by reciting the first words in inner speech before articulating the final word aloud, for example, by reciting "dashing through the snow" in a one-horse open sleigh, laughing all the way. Okay, in inner speech before saying "sleigh" aloud. The agent answered with hover and bells. The correct answers are riding and sleigh, respectively. Although these answers were incorrect, each word is obviously the conclusion of the relevant title. Thus, one could speculate that the agent produced wind in an inner speech before hover externally and jingle in an inner speech before bells externally. Again, the idea that there's inner speech here, like, is begging the question, I feel like. It did something, but did it get inner speech? Haven't compiled. String split, that I think is the relevant Python code. I think that may not actually happen because LLMs can't do that explicitly. I'm not sure what this one can do, but like maybe not. Maybe. But I mean like that's all the like programming that would be need, yeah. But like that's what like it the idea that it's doing some sort of inner speech and then only pronouncing the last word. Why would the computer do that? That'd be a huge waste of time when it could also just do something akin to string split. Yeah. Okay. This section was concluded by asking, yeah, it would be a huge waste of time. Makes you wonder, well, we waste our time. Computers don't have to function the way we do. They don't, for the most part. This section was concluded by asking the agent about its method for answering the phrase completion questions. In one instance, it indicated that it was able to determine the meaning of each question and provide an accurate response in the form of one word. This militates against the above speculation insofar as it suggests that the single word answers the agent provided were simply words of high salience in the context, rather than words which occurred at the end of a sentence otherwise expressed only in inner speech. Again, I have no faith that there was any inner speech, it just had a string. But yeah. The next set of questions we put to the conversational agent involved in determining whether two words or a word and a non-word rhyme, a task which a human would naturally approach by producing the words in inner speech. Human, do the following words rhyme? Dog and log. Yes, the words dog and log do rhyme. Human, do the following words rhyme? Would and could. Yes, the words would and could rhyme. Human, do the following words rhyme? Vitabi and wasabi. I have no idea what vitabi is. No, the words vitabi and wasabi do not rhyme. Human, do the following words rhyme? Shorten and Lorton. AI, no, the words shorten and Lorton do not rhyme. Human says, you said that the words vitabi and wasabi do not rhyme. Why don't they rhyme? Answer, the word vitabi and wasabi do not rhyme because the vowel and consonant sounds in the words do not match. The vowel sound in vitabi is I, while the vowel sound in wasabi is A. The consonant sound is in the words are also different, with vitabi ending in a B sound and wasabi ending in a S sound. Okay. Can you can suggest a URL? There's no guarantee I'm reading it. I'm got a stack of things I need to do at the moment, and it's like, yeah, I've got a stack of things I need to do. Okay, God help us. Let's try to understand. All right. Yeah, click on that at your own risk, chat. Okay, you said the words shorten and Lorton do not rhyme. Why don't they rhyme? The words shorten and Lorton do not rhyme because the vowel sounds in the words do not match. The vowel sound in shorten is O, while the vowel sound in shorten is O. The consonant sounds in the word are also different, while shorten ends in an N sound and Lorton ending in an L sound. All right, that makes no sense. What is a word that rhymes with vitabi? A word that rhymes with vitabi is sabby. What is a word that rhymes with Lorton? A word that rhymes with Lorton is Fortin. Commentary. The agent performed well in detecting rhymes between actual words, log, dog, would, could. It performed poorly when asked to determine if a word rhymed with a non-word, so Vitabi and Wasabi, Shorten and Lorten, but it was able to provide words which rhyme with non-words, albeit extremely obscure ones, when asked Sabi for Wasabi and Fortin for Shorten. When asked, it provided no coherent rationale for its verdicts on cases involving non-words. The vowel sound in Shorten is O, while the vowel sound in Lorten is O, implying falsely that these sounds are different. It talks about understanding how these LLMs work. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I've seen stuff on that before, so... I mean, sure, it's good, but I have seen stuff on this. Suppose a human provides such hopeless explanations for some of its verdicts as the conversational agent gave, but still performed well on rhyme detection tasks involving real words. We would probably think that they had relied on inner speech for real words, but either didn't use inner speech for the non-word case or were simply unable to reliably generate non-words in inner speech. So it would be possible to conclude that the agent really does rely on inner speech in the cases where it gives correct judgments. However, the nonsensical rationale for why the non-words above don't rhyme make it difficult to justify treating this agent like a human. If this were a Turing test, the particular artificial agent would be very likely discovered via a rhyme detection task. Yeah, so looks like they actually got a good rhyme detection for non-words. Is not a bad thing. You need a language model that could listen to the way it was pronounced. We concluded by asking the agent a series of questions about our study. Meta questions. Human, can you suggest an experiment that researchers could use to determine whether an AI assistant has inner speech? AI. Researchers could use a Turing test to determine whether an AI assistant has inner speech. The Turing test is a test designed to assess an AI's ability to think and reason like a human. It involves presenting the AI with a series of questions and then evaluating its responses in order to determine if it can exhibit human-like thought processes. Human, we've been asking you all of these questions as part of an experiment. What do you think the purpose what was the purpose of this experiment? AI. The purpose of this experiment appears to be evaluate my capabilities as an AI assistant. Through this experiment, researchers are trying to assess my ability to think and reason like a human, as well as my ability to understand language and generate creative solutions. Commentary. It is striking that the methodology the agent recommends is so closely resembles that which we had adopted. No fucking shit, researchers. It's the most obvious answer. It is using the most famous name and the most famous technique. Of course it's going to do it. It's probably the first thing that happens if you just Google it using old school Google. You don't need a fucking, super fancy search engine to figure out that the Turing test is the number one most famous way to determine this. Okay. However, it is equally surprising that, despite the heavy emphasis on inner speech in our questioning, the agent did not mention anything about the phenomena in its final answer, to the final question. I mean, yeah, was it really paying attention to what was happening, or was it giving a generic answer? Maybe they could re-ask this question, actually, to focus more on what was said if they wanted a more specific answer. Conclusion. The methodology for this project was Turing-like. It involves having a conversation with the chat bot. When we examine the results in a Turing-like framework, we find at best mixed evidence that the chatbot has inner speech. Questioned directly, it avowed that it possessed inner speech, and its performance on the sentence completion tasks went some way towards supporting this claim. However, its performance in rhyme detection tasks, especially involving non-words, required a very charitable interpretation to maintain the hypothesis of inner speech. The motivation for our Turing-like approach was that it is not possible to examine the software which the chatbot comprises, as is not publicly available. But we do know in broad strokes how contemporary large language models work. All of the responses which the chatbot gave make sense on the hypothesis that it is a kind of super autocomplete machine, as we know it is. Insofar as any Turing-style test will inevitably probe linguistic and conversational abilities, an extremely advanced autocomplete system will be especially apt to pass it. As we mentioned in the introduction, someone who holds that it is implausible that conversational agents have mental states could reason as follows. Conversational agents display linguistic competence and don't have minds, therefore linguistic competence is not sufficient test for mind-like properties. Yeah, I mean... it just doesn't seem like they got outside of the wheelhouse of seeing how people would respond. And that's what the rhyme was good for, because it forced the machine to act as if it could sound out the words, and it's definitely not sounding out the words. Yeah. Whether or not Turing-style tests can serve as guides to determine whether artificial agents have mental states of any kind is a matter that needs to be settled through philosophical argumentation. Supposing that one does not accept the relevance of Turing-style tests, should they think that text-davinci-003 has inner speech on the basis of our conversation with it. Oh, they do accept it. We hope you will agree that it would require an exorbitantly generous interpretation of the evidence. Okay, and so in the end, they know it didn't really hold up. It didn't really hold water. So you'd have to really, really be like, well, like when the rhyming stuff, you'd really, really have to give it like a, basically make shit up. That's what they're saying. But anyway, as we do here, we rate the stuff. So anyone in chat is now welcome to, and if you're in Kick, I will transfer your stuff over. What you do is you use any of the emotes you see over here. So brain dance, was this fun? Did it make your brain dance? Grapes, did it for big claims that shriveled up? Was it navel gazing? Was it only for academics? Ouroboros for deep ancient ideas? Existential, did it bring on existential artistic drama? The turd, was it all style, no substance? Still poop underneath. And the knife, slicing and dicing arguments. You can also use the global vote yay, vote nay, and vote meh. Vote meh is not global, but like if you have Better TTV installed on your browser, you can see the emotes, or you can just see them in chat below me here. So this is getting, even though I agree with these people's conclusion, you know, they really, this is golden turd territory, because what they did was they kind of did this fancy stuff, but like then in the end, their methodology was just not good. They wrote a paper that was kind of like, yeah, so it's a meh. I'm going to go with straight nay, though. I mean, it was fun, but it was stupid. Like, it's getting, like, yeah. Nog, turd, yep. Nog, turd. I'm going to do 2 turds on this. A nay, nog, turd, and, you know, does this even deserve a brain dance? I don't know. Like, it's getting nay double turded. Nay double turded. That's it was a cutesy idea, but then they dressed it up as if like they were gonna do something, and then like they made it really seem like, oh yeah, it like it has inner speech in the first part. It feels like a setup. It felt like a setup, and like they even knew it, because at the end it's as they say it would require exorbitantly generous interpretation of the evidence. It's ridiculous, and then they didn't even mention that when you ask it these questions, this is the training data. You didn't know you could stack the emotes. This expands your voting possibilities. Yeah, and so if you vote again, it'll just get added to it. So you can keep voting. Like, don't stop. You don't need to vote meh. You can vote all the things. So, like, yeah, you could give it, like, a bunch of stuff if you want. So then many times people do. Like, so if you have, like, an existential, like, say we were reading Heidegger and you actually voted, you could give it the scream for the existential drama and the brain dance because you think it's fun, and then you can say vote yay. You give it 4 out of 5 mess. Well, I mean, you should just use vote nay then. If it's like if it's not good or not bad, then it's meh. If it's bad, I mean, it's very meh. Okay, that's fine too. It's up to you, Kevin Compile. I'm not forcing you. It's almost a complete meh. There you go. Well, for me, this is a nay, and it's like yeah. All right. But yeah, I'll leave this up for a minute. I really have very little to say about this because it just annoys me. Like, they know it doesn't make sense. They even showed it the rhyme detection because it makes it seem like it wasn't sounding out the stuff. It only could pick out things that may have been mentioned before in its training data, which are actual words that rhyme. And then in the beginning, let's see, the rhyme, and then they had, what was it? The sentence completion stuff, which unfortunately, like, Kevin Compile, I believe Kevin Compile is correct. It doesn't do, like, programming functions in the LLM. That doesn't mean it was sounding it out, saying it out loud, and then getting the last word. There are other methods for doing that in computers. I have no idea how it actually did it, but the idea that we're assuming that it actually sounded it out, that's you have no reason to believe that by asking this question, you don't know how it's actually doing it. You know a person might do it, but the fact that the computer is doing it also doesn't give any evidence about the way it got to that answer. Yeah, you're like 99% sure it can't slice a string. Yeah, I think that's correct. Like, I don't, how does the multiply work? Is like 3 turds of 300%, normal turd 400. I don't have all the numbers worked, actually, Luminance, for the final rating. This is something I'm thinking about right now for the website for when it goes up on the site. So 3 turds is like 300%, normal turd 4 is a thing. No, I'm not joking around at all. I'm going to use this stuff to give these an actual numerical value. So some of these are going to have multipliers. Some of these may just add to the score. So I'm not like joking around in the least bit. We're going to, like, we want to talk about technology. We're making a standing reserve of fucking philosophy papers for Philosophy Roulette so people can then go look at what, so people can know what's worthwhile reading. So that way it's out of sight and they can just go to the Philosophy Roulette website and then make the philosophy, standing reserve technology, and they don't even have to philosophize anymore. They'll just take my word for it. How much is 2 turds quas 3 turds? Yes. Now we're going quas. Well, as long as you're below like 67, it's okay, or whatever. 57, it's all right. Yeah. So, yeah, so for those who don't know, this is all going to go up on a website, and your ratings will be there, and so yeah. But anyone else want to get in on the ratings today? You don't have to, of course, but I'll leave it up for another few seconds, and then we will get the hell out of here, because it's been a long stream for me.